All right, welcome to week 8. Can't believe it's already 8 weeks already. But time is flying along, and let's get into it. So for this week, nothing out of the ordinary. Just our couple basic buys. So I'll kind of open them up so you can see the share price. So 36.80 and 36.81 for CGDV. And then for DIVB, uh, same thing. So I think one interesting thing about the DIVB buy that I had not seen before since starting the weekly buys in January is that it split the fractional buy into two buys. Not really sure why. One thing I did notice is that one of the fractional buys, and by fractional I mean that the purchase was for a fractional share. The price was 50.33, and then for the other fractional buy, the price was 50.28. So I'm not sure if there was like a 5 second like flash. I don't want to say crash, but like a flash drop in the price where uh, there is such a differential. Usually, it's usually the same price or a 1 cent difference. So not a big deal, but just interesting that uh, that was the first time it broke up the fractional buy. So that was it for the last week. Again, nothing to really call out there. Nothing, no new trades or dividend received. Just the weekly buys. All right, so turning to overall account performance, definitely a big turn from last week, and not for the better. I probably jinxed uh, the account last week, saying how great of a week it was. So things definitely reversed a bit. Uh, Again, so kind of going down the line, I was saying how SCHD was kind of the laggard of the group, behind, about half the growth or less than half the percent growth of JEPQ year to date. And, I think last week JEPQ was up over 5% year to date, whereas SCHD was up about less than 2.5%. That certainly reversed this week. So with a lot of kind of big tech down, SCHD, kind of more stable companies. SCHD had a big jump up in terms of share price, so that's now sitting at over 4% year to date. JEPQ was definitely hurt in terms of share price. So again, that went from being up over 5% year to date to now being up less than 2%, almost close to 1.5% year to date. FNILX, which is close to the SPY, was up 4.5% year to date at the end of last week. End of this week, it's down to 1.3%. So definitely a lot of big selling off in the market, affecting the ETFs. Apple, like I mentioned last week, that Apple maybe had a couple catalysts, but it could also be a flight to safety. People kind of putting money into Apple, as it tends to be one of the safer Mag 7 stocks. So week over week, that improved as well, down from about 2.3% at the end of week 7 to down 1% at the end of week 8. So kind of coming closer to being even for the year. Microsoft, again, continuing to get worse. Again, it was down and it was down 2.8% year to date at the end of week 7. Now it's kind of doubled that percent loss at negative 5.6% year to date. So now under 400. So I think it broke the 400 mark. So at this point, I'm not gonna do a prediction, but when it breaks 400, I mean anything can happen at this point. And then for the new ETFs, you see there's as we kind of get more and more shares and time goes on, beginning to see a little bit of separation here. So whereas CGDV is up about $10 on the year, DIVB is up about double that, up about $20 for the year. But again, plenty of time left. Um, and as we kind of dollar cost averaging, actually being dipping down and then coming up can actually be helpful than just rising slowly. I'll give an example of that maybe in the February uh, monthly recap. But both of the newer ETFs are positive for the year, and I always say positive is good. We're just beginning, and again we're about maybe about 2 or 3 weeks away from getting our first dividends with each of these. Okay? And then kind of like lastly, the active NVIDIA put. So this is kind of an interesting one. Uh, Last week it was at, so again to recap, this was a cash secure put sold for it was about $270, maybe 275. It went with Nvidia going up, the actual stock price. The put went down to $108 last week, which as a seller is what you want. You want decreasing value. But with the sell off, including Nvidia, and then just with volatility and IV around earnings, this went from $108 to 410. So again, as a seller, this is not necessarily what you want, unless you are trying to be assigned, which could be the case as well. So just taking the kind of the week over week. So if you bought this put, not sold it, but if you bought the put last week and you cashed out at the end of the 25th, you would have made 280% on your money in a week. Definitely not too shabby. And again, kind of if you kind of time things right, you can make a lot of money, but you can also lose a lot of money very quickly as well. So at this point, again, we're a day away from Nvidia earnings. I will probably just kind of leave the play active and kind of make a judgment from there. Kind of best case scenarios are the stock goes up, or even the stock stays flat and the options get crushed. So that meaning that even if the underlying price, even if Nvidia stock price was flat, the actual option will go down significantly in value it will be a 1 day less, but more importantly, the volatility or the implied volatility will decrease. Okay. So overall account value is a little under 46,000. Again, if you kind of take away the put, it would be just over 46,000. So we'll see how that goes. In terms of year to date, so we're up about $807. Again, if you exclude the put, it would be over it would be 1,000 over 1,000 1,200. And then the year to date growth is 1.8%. Again, I would expect that to change for both year to date dollar growth and year to date percent growth to change a lot based on how the NVIDIA put goes. So that is it for week 8. I hope everyone has a great week of buying, selling, trading. Again, kind of stick to your plan. Don't let the headlines scare you away. Volatility can be a good thing, and if all else fails, just continue to dollar cost average. So with that being said, on to the next one.